Well, welcome back to the Masai Mara, and there we have a slightly closer look of the very little Oribi antelope, and they're displaying some very interesting behavior. Now, you'll watch, he's been putting his leg up, there we go, just like that. So he's trying to encourage his female friend to help him make a future generation of Masai Mara Oribi, and she seems to be quite receptive. You can see the little tail flicks, so she is flirting back, so probably just coming into estrus. So there we go. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, not too many antelope display this type of behavior, and it is really seldom seen, so this is actually quite special to watch Oribi courting. Now, of course, there are quite a lot of Oribi in the Mara, but due to the long grass, we don't see them. Unfortunately, the wildebeest have come and given us a good lawn mowing, and now we're starting to see more and more Oribi and other wonderful little creatures. And my name is Brent Leo Smith. I have a Batman on camera, and we're going to keep a similar plan to what we did yesterday. We're going to head way down to the south of the Mara Triangle, and hopefully try and catch up with the Purangat sub-adults. Now, unfortunately, last night we lost them in a big rainstorm, and for those of you who are wondering what happened to that absolutely stunning female leopard, the Maja Chafu female, she decided she was done with us and went to Tanzania for a holiday. But hopefully she might come back. She was vocalizing she could be on a territorial sort of march, so she could be back in that area. I'm very keen to see if those sub-adults managed to catch something last night. There are a few thousand wildebeest around there, but they're quite spread out, so not that mass that we've been seeing. Taylor, on the other hand, is heading across the river to where the main body of the migration is, well, at the moment, that the migration that is in the Mara itself. Quite a few are outside in the conservancies towards the north and towards the east.
At Treehouse Dam.
And now I seem to be sort of stuck on repeat, because we're going to go across to Tristan, who's at Treehouse Dam again.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari from South Africa. It is a beautiful warm afternoon again, and hopefully a very busy one. There was reports apparently of shadow coming into the property, and so we're going to try and see if we can find her. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Sebastian, who has just gotten back on the vehicle from doing his time lapse at Treehouse Dam. And like I say, it is live, it is interactive, so that means you can get hold of us on #SafariLive on Twitter and on YouTube chat. Sorry, my brain went blank there for a second. But we're at Treehouse just to check if anything was around, because I thought maybe Shadow might come this way for a drink of water, but it seems as though she's not here. I believe she was found not far from Twin Dam, so it really is a bit odd as to what's going on, because yesterday there was Tamba and Hosanna there. We've seen Thandi at Twin Dams regularly. Now Shadow moving into that area. It's just a recipe for one big thing to happen. I suppose we did have a really serious sighting yesterday afternoon of Tamba and Hosanna, but I think Shadow and Thandi would be far more serious than any of the previous ones that we've had. But I wonder what she's doing ended up in this general vicinity. And we know that Tamba was also seen close to Twin Dams this morning briefly, so I wonder if there's not going to be a little altercation at some point between the two sisters. Shadow is creeping deeper and deeper towards the east, and Thandi, we know, is pushing further and further to the west, and they're starting to overlap. In fact, we had a sighting the other day where Thandi and Shadow were not more than 200 meters apart. They didn't know it because of the dam wall, but they actually were really close to one another. It was quite amazing to see, and if I think it had been a different landscape, they would have seen one another, and that would have led to quite an interesting sighting, because like I say, as far as I know, since they've split apart and become mothers in their own right, in their own territories, there has been no meeting of those two leopards for some years now. In fact, as far as I can remember, which is from 2011, I don't think these two cats have really met since that time. So it's going to be an interesting standoff if those two do come together. I don't think Thandi would be as brazen as she was with Shongile in terms of coming in and attacking, but you never know. Maybe she would be, especially now with Shadow carrying that little limp. It's going to mean that Shadow must be a little bit more careful about where she's hanging around and make sure that she doesn't get too close to where Thandi is at the moment. Although I suppose Thandi is on a kill quite far away, unless she came to fetch Tumba from Twin Dams. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure our lions are also around. We'll probably head to them a little bit later if we don't have much luck with our spotted cats, because we'll try and see if we can't get another glimpse of those cute little Nkahuma cubs. For those of you that missed it, we got to see the tiny little Nkahumas this morning. 3 fluffy little balls of sweetness and of lots and lots of talking. They were communicating quite a bit this morning, so I'm sure they'll be up and about and moving around as well around sunset. So that's when we're going to head. Obviously we can't view the pride after dark anymore because of those little cubs. We have to be very sensitive to them. We do have infrared, so I suppose we could if we wanted to, but they're still so small, and I'm sure she's just changed den that I don't really want to pressure her too much from that point of view. So I'm going to try and leave them around sunset and let them carry on and let her get settled in this new den, because I'm sure those cubs weren't there yesterday. I'm sure she moved in there last night, so I want her to get the den settled before we do anything around that area, and like I say, pressure her in any way whatsoever. Now the saving grace for us today with Shadow is that it's hot, and if she's carrying an injury, I believe Aubrey said to me she was limping again quite badly this morning, worse than when the last time we saw her. So it seems to be an injury that's kind of coming and going, and I'm sure it's the more she strains herself, the worse it's going to get. Now there's tracks for a vehicle going off-road here. They said to me she was closer towards Twin Dam side than she was Elephant Carcass, but I want to just check, because these tracks head down into the riverbed here. And you would think that should be easy enough to spot, but I don't see anything yet. And these are definitely not our tracks. I was just thinking about when we followed Hasana the other day. I'm sure we went in this general vicinity, but we didn't cross over here, I don't think. Did we, Sept? No, we went around the other side. But there's definitely vehicle tracks in this area. I don't see a leopard anywhere here. My world, your music. You say fingers crossed that we see the leopard. Well, I've got my fingers crossed for sure. Hopefully with Seb on board we'll spot it. We know that he's got an eye for these things, so I'm sure we will find this leopard. Maybe this is where they first found her, and then she then moved towards Twin Dams. I'm going to just try and see along Elephant Carcass a little bit further, or Elephant Skull a little bit further, and see if there isn't another track that goes in, because if it isn't, then I'll have to come back to here and we'll have to look around. But I'm just checking in all the shadowy areas, because she won't be lying out in the sun. It's warm, so she's going to try and find herself some nice shade in which to relax and rest. And that's why I thought Treehouse Dam was a good call, because it's not far from where we are here, and she might have wandered and meandered that way. We know her general direction of movement is more towards the west. She likes the western side, and that's where the core of her territory is, and so it's made a bit more sense to head in that direction. But maybe, just maybe, she's moved a little bit. Aubrey is unfortunately not mobile yet, so I can't actually ask him where exactly he left her, because the last time I spoke to her, to Aubrey, he said that she was hunting a duiker, and then she went and laid down again. And so maybe she just hunted along further. See, there's tracks going in there. Ooh, this is not going to be too easy to find her, I don't think. Maybe she was up and down here, because he said to me close to Twin Dams, and we're far from Twin Dams. We're not very close at all. There's tracks there. Mr. P, you're asking if Shadow could climb trees with a broken leg. Well, I don't think her leg is broken. I think she's just a little bit sore, so I don't know if there's maybe a muscular damage or a ligament damage. The fact that she was putting weight on it the way she was the last time we saw her would tend to suggest that it's not broken, but you never know. If it is, climbing trees is going to be very difficult for her. She's really going to struggle to climb trees, and I in fact don't think that she would at all. And just from the last few carcasses that she's had, we've seen that she hasn't been climbing trees. She's been down on the ground. The guys that have seen her on impala carcasses in the west have been telling me that the carcasses have stayed on the ground. They haven't been put up in trees at all. So it seems as though she's spending time on the ground and is not capable of hoisting. So I don't know if she can get herself up, but she's not hoisting any. Okay, no tracks coming out there. Come on, Shadow, where are you? And then you're asking about Shadow's limping and if it got worse, would we intervene? No. So unfortunately, it's not an injury caused by humans. It's an injury that was natural, and these things happen. And us as people, we get a little bit too kind of emotionally invested in our cats, and we try and want to help them all the time, which is not a bad thing. It really is. I mean, a lot of the cats need a lot of attention and need some sort of semblance of protection and help in some areas, but at the end of the day we also have to be very careful that we are not kind of helping animals out of emotion rather than out of need, because it's one thing to help a leopard, it's another thing altogether when it's an impala and everybody just kind of turns a blind eye to an impala and they're like, oh well, it's just an impala, we don't have to worry. So you've got to be a bit careful with that. You've got to apply a blanket rule to everything, and the easiest way to do that in terms of having a black and white sort of line rather than nothing is to say, if there is an injury caused by nature, then we leave it for nature to either rectify itself or to be able to get better, to die, and then the nutrients goes back into the system and into the soil and into other predators that might eat it or something like that. I hope our duiker doesn't run. It's sitting just under the tree in the shade, so it's, oh, there it goes, bounding off. So I was just trying to say that at least you'll see that if antelope like a duiker or a steenbok or impalas are resting under shade, I would imagine cats will be doing the same thing. So it's just a matter of finding exactly where they had her and trying to then look under those shady sections. But I don't see any more tracks in this general vicinity, so I'm going to have to wait for Aubrey to get going, and then I'm going to have to ask him where exactly he left her, and then we'll try and go to that area. But I can see that there are a lot of elephant tracks that look like they're going down towards Twin Dams, so we'll just check Twin Dams quickly while we're here for the Ellies, since there's so many tracks heading in that direction. And if there's nothing there, then I'll come back to Elephant Carcass and have a little bit more of another look. But I would imagine she might have moved and found herself some more shade somewhere. Mr. P, you're asking about would an injury put her cub in jeopardy. Now I can see some more tracks going in here, Seb. This is tracks that we didn't see last night because I was here last night with Tamba and Hosanna. It could definitely put her cub into danger. She could have a situation where her cub could very well be in danger, with her not being able to defend herself as well as the cub effectively. Remember, the cub is still reliant on her, but the cub is getting to an age now where it might be able to sustain itself, so it might find a way to survive somehow and get itself food. We've seen with Hosanna and Shongile that they figured it out. They are a little bit older, but they also figured it out and they made a plan, and it's not unheard of leopard cubs at 10 months old surviving. It's not great chance, but there is a chance that it could happen. So we always kind of think of the positive side of things, and hopefully Shadow will be fine. But if she isn't, then I would imagine that cub hopefully will have learned enough from Shadow in its life already to be able to find a way to survive. These tracks are going pretty much straight to where we were. Careful there, Seb.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe she walked this way from Twin Dams. Maybe she went back to Twin Dams. I obviously haven't been to the dam yet, but there's lots of tracks in this general vicinity. Seems as though they turned around here. See, she was... It's so difficult if you weren't there in the morning and you didn't see exactly where she was left. It's not easy to know because tracks go up and down, and if she was moving, the guys would have tried to have followed her, and she might have gone into a sort of section that we don't know exactly where she was lying. But the tracks, there's still some there. Maybe she was in this thicket somewhere. Now here's more tracks here. I can see they turned around a bit in this general area. You can see a little bit of off-roading that's happened. I don't see anything. Seb, do you see anything? Alright, well, we're going to try and work out where exactly this leopard was left, where exactly Aubrey's tracks are, and while we do that, let's go back to Brent in the Mara.
Well, we've got a curious little female elephant who's wandered actually quite far from the rest of the herd, unless there's some more down in the ravine that we can't see. But she looks quite content, completely ignoring us. Hey, little girl. Where are you off to? As I said, the rest of the herd are quite far away at the moment. But I'm sure at the first squeak or trumpet of trouble, they'll come trumpeting in. There we go. So there's some more. They probably are more spread out through the little forest to the right of us. Now, remember, if you want to ask us any questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is the best way to get hold of us, and we'd love to hear from you. And hopefully, we're going to be getting lots of wonderful questions from our wonderful viewers. Now, it's quite windy today, and I'm hoping that the rain stays away. Because after last night, Craig and I, we had a bit of a battle. So it started raining, I'd probably say at about 8 o'clock, 8:30. Oh, she's coming back. Hey, little one. And it did not stop raining till about 11:45 in the evening. And we were all hunkered down. You are a very curious little madam. Hello. You coming to say hello? Oh, yes, you're very scary, madam. I mean, that's so cute. Hello. This is wonderful. Now, I'm sure if the rest of the herd were a bit closer, she'd be a bit more brave. Oh, she found some mud. Now, I've noticed the elephants here do like to rub their bottoms on the rock signs that are around. No, she's not going to desecrate the sign. She's going to keep moving. And we're going to do the same. As I say, we've got quite a long way to go. And if you have a look... Oh, I'm sorry, Craig. If you have a look over the little baby elephant, you see a line of hills way in the distance there. Now, we're going over and beyond those hills this afternoon. Okay, let's keep going. Hi, Darlene. Darlene's wondering why on certain elephants you notice that the top of the ears are folded down and some more than others. It's basically just a breakdown of cartilage. Some elephants have better cartilage or an injury to that cartilage, and that causes the ears to fold down. And as they get older, those flaps become more and more prominent. So we're going to jet along the river. Jamie, there when she had that. to and fro, and you caught me eating a nut. Having a little snack. Craig and I were enjoying a macadamia nut. We do apologize, but we are live from the middle of the African bush. So sometimes these things do happen. So I said, we're going to keep moving. And I've got fingers crossed that it's been quite a cool day today. We're not going to get wet. So generally we get those afternoon thunderstorms after a hot day. And there's been a build-up not going down the wrong way. A build-up of condensation, and that forms those lovely afternoon thunderstars. Now they're quite lovely until you're sitting in the middle of them and waiting for the lines to move, and then the lines disappear while you can't see them because all the sides are down. But that is part of the fun of being out here. It's quite the adventure. It seems like Tristan's on a tour of all the dams today, so let's go have a look. Hi. Yes. So we've come to check twin dams quickly, just in case any of these leopards came back. I believe Thandi has left her kill on Torchwood. She's not there. So I had a sneaky suspicion maybe she came to fetch Tumba, and it was worth just coming to the dam and seeing if either one of them was maybe just lying here and getting a bit of water in this hot weather, or if Shadow maybe came this side. But there is no sign of any leopard around the dam that I can see. It's obviously not to say there isn't a leopard here. Sometimes they can be quite well hidden, as we know, but I don't think there is a leopard here. There's lots of baboon tracks. The elephant tracks unfortunately go south into Little Gowrie, so they drank and then headed southwards. So there are lots of baboon tracks, which means that for a leopard with baboons and elephants around, it probably would have slunk away and found somewhere else to sit than at the waterhole itself. But Aubrey, like I said, is still not mobile, so we're still waiting for him before I can actually get a real update as to exactly where this leopard was this morning. I'm sure we will find her. It's just a matter of patience and a bit of perseverance, and we know that we have plenty of that when it comes to our leopard friends. We will definitely try our very best to find them. There's little Tumba's tracks from last night. Interesting, like I say, that it seems as though Tumba was down this side and that Hosana was the one that ended up towards Vuyatela camp. It's an interesting kind of turn of events. I would have thought it would have been the other way around, that Hosana would have stayed around this area and Tumba would have been the one that would have had to have moved and gone into a different section and go and try and find his mom somewhere else, given that Hosana was the one that seemed to be sort of dominating a little bit, although Tumba didn't seem too worried about it. He kind of looked at Hosana, walked up to him, chilled with him a little bit. There was a bit of growling and hissing, but it was just a crazy interaction. I think both of them were very nervous of trying to turn their backs and getting hurt, so both of them were trying to be as brave as possible. And actually, in the end of the day, it's probably the best thing, because if both of them were brave towards one another, maybe it led to a situation where they didn't actually come into contact but separated, and at least they had a little bit of a standoff and gained a bit of experience and were able to then work out how to deal with it for next time. But I'm a bit sad that we've missed the Ellies. It would have been nice to have some elephants. They seem as though it was quite a nice sized herd that was here. But they obviously drank and just carried on. Maybe they headed towards Chitwa Dam, which if we haven't had much luck here, I'll try and find out if there's any elephants around Chitwa Dam side and we can go and have a little look. There's definitely no tracks for a car going in anywhere in this direction. The last tracks we have for the vehicles that I'm sure followed Shadow this morning end up close to where we are now, sort of in a line with us. In the drainage though, they turn around there, so maybe they left her sleeping on one of those ridges and then she moved from there. So I'm gonna try check this side. There's no vehicle tracks that go there. So maybe let's try drive in the drainage and see if we spot her from down here in the shade. There's so many little shady spots in a drainage line like this. She could be under any one of these trees. So it's just a bit of good luck that we're going to need. I was saying to Seb as well though, if she's
feeling a bit sorry for herself with a bit of a sore paw. I really want to walk into her because Shadow can be sometimes a little... grumpy's not the right word because she's not a grumpy cat. She gets a bad name for it, but she can just be a little bit sort of feeling sorry for herself and might just be a little bit more on the aggressive side to try and protect herself a little bit better, make sure that she feels like she's not in any way being harassed or something like that. So better not to walk into her. It'll be easier if we can find her with a vehicle. Also, I don't want her to start running away from us and then it becomes difficult to see her again. You know, the leopards that are healthy like Hosana and Shongile and Thandi and these kind of ones, going on foot is probably better. But with an injured cat, it's a little bit better to use a vehicle. I can hear a little bit better and have a little look around. While I do that, let's go to Jamie, who would like to say good afternoon, and she has a very interesting bird with a fancy hairstyle.
Try that all again. Hopefully this secretary bird will bring us a little bit of good luck and I'll be able to say hello to all of you properly once again. Though we're starting off our sunset safari this afternoon with a secretary bird stalking along, long-legged and elegant. Of course, the best part of the secretary birds is that, I don't even know if you'd call it a crest or what you'd call it, that combination of long feathers on the back of the head. Very striking birds. Actually, I think that completes the birds that we've seen from this morning's sunrise safari. We've had Corey Bustard, Ostrich, and now a secretary bird. And we better just do a quick introduction because I've forgotten that I haven't done that yet. A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Manu is on camera with me. And the reason that we're late this afternoon is not because we weren't ready, but because Paka was busy having her... Paka's the vehicle, by the way. She was busy having her new rain covers fitted, which is great news because we are guaranteed to get rained on this afternoon. It is going to pour down. Now that is why, one of the reasons why, I'm racing off in this direction. I'm not going to stop and linger for too long. I'd like to get back to that young male lion that we found right at the end of the sunrise safari this morning. So, this vehicle's been outfitted. It's even got a cage. It's even got a cage on the roof that we can actually sleep on. There you go, you can see our combination of lights. The mesh that we can lie on, the canvas roof, the plastic roof. It's a serious operation that goes into waterproofing these cars and at the same time giving us somewhere to be able to sleep. That puts us out of reach of curious lions. It's one of the other big reasons behind it. But our mechanic said to me this afternoon that he didn't think that I would be able to sleep up there because I was too big. Which goes to show that our dear Shadrach has a very solid sense of humour. Now don't forget to send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. I'm not driving that fast. That's the wind howling in this direction, which is good. It's blowing the weather that way. We can just go this way. Last night I tried to beat the storm home. It didn't work. It just made everything worse. What is... Oh, it's a wildebeest carcass. I thought it was a lion lying in the grass. Hi, buddy. Hi, guys. Alright, we're going to send you back over to Brent, who's also on a mission.
Well, we are still meandering. Well, I suppose we're not meandering, we're maneuvering south quite quickly. We want to get down there before it's too late, try and get ourselves established with some lions around some wildebeest or with a leopard or cheetah in that southern area. So we're going to scoot past. Obviously, if we see anything absolutely fantastic, we will definitely stop. But this is a lovely opportunity for you guys to ask any questions about the Mara in general while while I'm dashing down the road. So remember, hashtag Safari Live. If you've got any specific questions about the Mara in general, or anything about what's happening here in Kenya in terms of the migration, the lions, cheetahs, I would love to have your questions now. It's a perfect time where I can focus on answering them while I maneuver, not meander, maneuver south and eastwards. Well, I got a question from Mr. P. I didn't quite hear it, so I'm just going to wait for Chantal to ask me again. Are there speed limits in the wild? Most definitely. So this road we are now actually connects two very different parts of Kenya, and it's quite a long way across. So people do use it as a transit route, and the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour. And as you see, well, I never really even get close to that. I'm probably, well, our gauges don't work, but I think I'm probably doing around 25, 30. What? Whoa! He was doing 50. And there was some waterbuck looking off to the distance there. I just want to make sure there was nothing there spotted that was a kitty cat. Waterbuck still looking this way. No, it's another water. What you got there? Lion! Ah, well spotted. Kenya, Scarionas and hyenas. It's hyenas. They spotted some hyenas, the waterbuck. So we'll have a quick look. Now, we are in the clan lands at the moment, so North Clan, and the hyenas are having a spa day. So the North Clan den is actually, probably about 5 or 6 kilometers from here, but there are so many of them. They are often very, very spread out. Look at that. A spa day, mud bath. Bit of a look of disdain. You're interrupting my relaxation session in the mud. And a very fat belly, so obviously that's creating a bit of heat, and that's why the hyena is lying in some nice cool mud. Even though it's not hot today, it's quite chilly. I've even got long pants on, which doesn't happen too often. But lazy hyenas, and as I say, we've got a long way to meander, and I've managed to pull out my ears. There we go, my ears are back in. Bye, Howards. Okay, so as I said, we've got some distance to cover. I'm sure we'll see you again shortly. Let's go see how Tristan's search for the Prince of Predators is going.
Right, so we're still in this thicket, but unfortunately we've lost our earpiece. So our earpiece is now just damaged, which is not a good thing because we don't really have any more of them. In fact, I think I've got one at Inga's, so we might have to just quickly shoot back to Inga's on our mission to try and find Shadow, but it just got caught on a branch, and unfortunately before I could even brake, it was off. So we've got no comms, which means Seb's going to have to feed exactly what's being said as I meander my way back to Inga's and try and find a different one. Hopefully we will get some earpieces soon, because we're starting to run a little on the thin side of earpieces. But I've done all the way through from Twin Dams now towards Weaver's Nest, basically following the route that Hosanna took the other day, and it seems kind of like the route that I would imagine Shadow would walk, but I managed to find no sign of her and no footprints that I can see, just Hosanna's tracks from the other day, which is making it a little on the tough side. I was hoping we would find her sitting somewhere in one of these thickets, but alas, she is proving to be apt in her name as an elusive leopard to find. I think this is going to be our quickest way out here, Seb. punches being thrown at us. It's all happening this side of the world. There we go. Sanctity and roads is going to help us for sure. I wonder if there's going to be tracks for a female leopard here. I might as well just quickly have a little look and check while we're here. And just check that she didn't go towards Treehouse Dam. Treehouse Dam, sorry, not Twin Dams. No, she didn't head that way. There's a kudu running off. It looks... Let's see, Kudu looks a little bit on the kind of nervy side. I suppose I have just come crashing through the thicket, so that's unfortunately going to be a bit of a reason why they'll be slightly more nervous. You can see her going back to feeding now, so we don't have to worry too much at all. They are beautiful though. It looks like just a female and her young one. It's difficult. I don't see any others, which is quite strange. Generally, kudu are in quite sort of small groups of females. It's seldom that you'll see one female on her own. I'm sure the rest are maybe further ahead in the direction that she's walking at the moment. You can see they just stop and listening. It's also quite windy today, so with wind you're going to find a situation that the kudus are going to have a bit of a problem because their hearing is going to be massively disturbed. When you've got big satellite-like ears, when it's windy, it's a bit tough to hear what's going on. It makes life a lot harder, and it really is not easy at all when it comes to trying to kind of work out where predators are around you. There's rustling of the grass and the trees, and you'll often find then that they try and head down into drainage lines. It was far less windy where we've just come from, out in the drainage section, so I would imagine so I can link to Jamie now while I try fix my earpiece. I'm going to race home quickly, so we'll go back to Jamie and see how she's doing on that side of the world.
And it's one of my favorite antelope. So to not see them every day after spending so much time in the Lowveld, it actually feels kind of sad. I miss kudu, I miss Nyala, I miss seeing leopards properly. It's been quite a while since I've seen a leopard. I know Brent had a nice sighting yesterday afternoon. Sorry. Whenever there's wind like this and a car passes, I spend a few seconds with my eyes closed and holding my breath. Otherwise you end up with very scratchy eyeballs. Oh, the wind is really truly howling. And if we look across towards where Brent is and where Taylor's going, let me just show you what the weather looks like. Amazing. It's amazing. This whole place was teeming with wildebeest a couple of weeks ago. Now it's completely empty. But just look at the weather. Brent's in that direction. That side's really bad. Poor Taylor. Taylor's planning on spending the night on the other side of the river. Terrible timing. Now, Patricia, you say it seems to be raining a lot here. Does it continue to rain throughout the year? Technically, we're in the dry season. From what I understand, obviously having spent 3 months here, I'm not fully acquainted with the local climate, but having spoken to people about the way that things work, apparently it's dry now, and then there's a little bit of rain, or a fair, what is apparently in Kenya termed a little bit of rain, but for us is probably a huge amount in November, and then the big rainy season from around January to May. So technically we're actually in the dry season, but remember that the rainfall average here is 4 times that of Djuma, so there's a much higher average annual rainfall. And what that means essentially is that this is pretty normal apparently. It just does rain a lot. And obviously even in the dry season there's still intermittent rain. Apparently when the rains do come, which I can completely understand, half of the roads are very difficult to drive on. But we've experienced that even with just a little bit of rain that we've had. when it properly comes down, the black cotton soils become slippery, you skid. Unless I can imagine that there are certain places where you absolutely just cannot drive. At least not without being willing to have to dig yourself out several times along the way. It's cold though, it's very cold today. The wind has a serious bite to it. Makes me sincerely regret not wearing shoes. Oh well. So I'm still trying to cover distance. Obviously everything is much, much further in the Mara, just because we move about a much larger area. So I'm not stopping at the moment. I want to try and get to where that young male was, because once this weather moves in, he's probably going to start getting up and mobile, and he's either going to help us find the ladies, or he's going to go off in search of dinner. And I want to get there before that happens, otherwise we're going to struggle to find him. So I'm not stopping at the moment. I'm seeing the odd elephant herd, but far away, buffaloes, but far away. So you'll just have to keep along on this rather windy journey. And don't forget, while we trundle along, now's a perfect opportunity if you have any questions, general questions, to ask us on the Mara, or perhaps on our lives in the Mara. You can send that through on #SafariLive on Twitter. We've got an open opportunity here while we cover some distance. Yeah, I think I'm going to stay on this side of the reserve. I can see blue sky over there. Ah, Sharon, you wanted to know about the mountain range to my right. Whoa, you crashed the car. That is the Olololo Escarpment. And now, why can't I remember its full name? The Olololo Escarpment, there's more to the name and I can't remember what it means. I read it the other day. I think I even mentioned it on Drive. So we live up on the top of that escarpment. Not exactly where we're looking at the moment, because we're quite far, so our camp is behind me. But we live on the top of that escarpment, looking down across the plains. I am going to try and remember exactly what the full name of the escarpment, because it's going to drive me dippy. While I do that, let's send you back over to Brent, who's also on a mission this afternoon.
Yes, and like Madam McCurdy, we are missioning in probably not the most sensible direction, as you can see. The dark skies. Although, Kakenia and myself, we've had a discussion. We think it's going to miss us where we're going, but that is on the other side of the river at the moment. But what we're going to do is we're going to head towards the high ground near the Serena Ridge, have a look down towards where we were going, and then make an assessment from there. And I like it gambling a little bit. Oh, my favorites. Well, one of my favorites. I have many favorites. Don't disappear into the long grass. They're going to, go, disappeared. Let's see if we can get a view of them. It's quite a large business of banded mongooses. There they are. Now, they're not too fond of this weather. Windy, cold. Oh, and I'm pretty sure they're heading for home at the moment. Hi, guys. Stop checking us out. And there we carry on.
So cool.
And you see how the sentries, or all of them act as sentries from time to time, will pop their head up to have a look if there's any possible threats around. Now, there are quite a lot of termite mounds in that area where they're heading, and I'm pretty sure one of them is a burrow. But look. Those got slightly sidetracked by two to the left. by the lapwings. They just wanted to go check to make sure the lapwings didn't have a nest. One of the mongoose's most favorite foods, or the banded mongoose in particular, is the nests of ground. There we go. Oh, attack! The eggs of ground nesting birds. Oh dear, that thunder is sounding quite ominous. Are we going to risk it? Yes, we are. I'm just going to have a quick look past the crossings on our way further to the east now. So we've stopped heading south for the moment. I'm going to head east for a little bit and then go south again. Corin is wondering, are living tents waterproof? Well, indeed they are, otherwise we'd be very, very uncomfortable. There's an incredibly high rainfall area, around 1,200 mils a year. To give you an idea, the average Djuma rainfall is 350. So more than four times the amount of rain that falls at Djuma. And this is the dry season, by the way, and you can see we still get rain in the dry season in the Mara. The driest time of the year with the least rain historically is actually January, February. So you've got your big rains and your small rains in the Mara. Your small rains start normally around the end of October, November, December, and then your big rains start March, April, May. So and that's the two main rainy seasons in this part of the world. Oh no, it's a termite mound. I thought it was a lion. So we are in Paradise Pride territory. And who knows, maybe we'll bump into the legend, the king of the crossings, old Scar himself. While we scan around here, let's go to Tristan, who hopefully doesn't break this earpiece.
I have, Brent. I've broken another one. This is what happens when we go off-road, and unfortunately, what can I do? It's the price we pay for looking for leopards. I'll happily go and buy another 20 earpieces if it means that I find leopards. So we're back up and running, and I'm heading back to where Shadow was, because I've now spoken to Aubrey, and he can tell me, well, he told me exactly where it was, and it sounds like on a sharp bend there's a weeping boer bean on the southern bank, and she was just maybe 50 meters east of that. So that's where we're going, and I was just trying to tighten my light that's on the side here because it's rattling. Not that Wendy doesn't rattle as it is, and she's got a bit of a squeaky bonnet, but well, I just thought I would tighten the light, which I've done an absolutely horrible sort of effort, because as you can see, look at how it wobbles. It's not exactly very still at all, so it's a wobbly light, and I'll try and fix it a little bit later. But I'm surprised that we didn't go. We must have driven right past Shadow. If she's still there, that's the thing, is she might have moved, she might have gone somewhere else. But if we did, she's not moved, then we've driven right past her. She was apparently not far from where we were. It's just now a matter of kind of working out exactly where. So I need to find the boer bean, and then I need to go 50 meters east of the boer bean on the southern bank. It's pretty much where we've been driving around. Maybe we just missed her, Seb. It's possible.
Black-headed Oriole, I think.
Is it a black-headed Oriole? Let's stop there. It is a. Looks like a. It could be actually. It's a time where we get the golden orioles back, but it is a black-headed Oriole. You can see the bright yellow feathers and the black head with the red beak. Very typical of this bird, and it is one of the most beautiful birds that we have out here, with a magical call. It's this liquid, bubbly, exotic call that they have. I really love hearing the black-headed Orioles. It reminds me of my childhood when I used to spend time with my grandparents when they used to call in the garden. So it's one of those birds that whenever I hear it, I think of fond memories, and they are absolutely beautiful. They're a difficult bird to get on camera because they generally...
It's very hard with Baron. We didn't get it for the list.
Really? You didn't get it for the list?
No.
And there's so lots of them here, so that just shows you that they're quite tough.
I saw them, but put them on camera.
Ah, there we go. So Seb says we they battled him and Byron because they saw them a lot, but getting them on camera is not easy. They're a little bit shy and secretive, and they like to fly a bit of a distance and then land, so to see this one on camera is very fortunate. Well done, Seb. That was a good spot. So Seb spotted that as we came around the corner. It kind of burst out and flew off to that tree. But like I say, beautiful bird. It really is. The female, not quite as pretty. She doesn't have that black head, and she's not quite as vibrant in those yellow colors as what the male is. So it's... Now, I wonder if we're going to find this leopard here. I'm sure we will eventually. It's just a matter of time, really, and a matter of a bit of patience and effort. And, well, Jamie doesn't seem to be struggling with spotted creatures because she's got the lankiest and tallest of them all.
I know I said I was going to pass a few things by on my way to the line, but I simply couldn't pass by a pair of baby giraffe that were just standing so beautifully out in the open. One's moved off to the right. That's the smallest one. I can't help but wonder if it's the tiny little giraffe I saw a couple of weeks ago. Look how cute it is, with its fluffy ossicones. Give a little nibble. No, I think it might be a little bit too old to be the one that we saw. We saw one that was really, really tiny a few weeks ago with the ossicones or the horns on the top of its head. Oh, panic! Panic and pandemonium! Why are you running? You don't even know why you're running. Youthful high spirits, I think they term it. Oh, but you chased the little baby away. That wasn't very nice. It's very common to see young giraffe together, and often you'll find that the mothers are scattered quite far away from them. And that, of course, led to this belief that giraffe had twins frequently. And whilst giraffe do have twins, it doesn't happen all that regularly. So it was a misconception that all the times that two babies were seen together, they were twins. But the mothers often leave them or go quite far away from their youngsters. One of the reasons why is so that they don't draw too much attention to them. So there's actually lots of giraffe here, all bending over, none of them standing tall. I can even see a few. There's one at the back as well. All in exactly the same position, nibbling off the bushes on the ground. Quite a beautiful scene. Should we try and get another view of that little one? I think we should. Snazzy, you say the baby looks about 4 months old. The older one, yes, I completely agree. The younger one, I don't think it's that old. I could be mistaken. But I have seen a 3-month-old giraffe up close many, many years ago, and it was definitely our shame. You're still galloping around, little thing. Wait, come back here. We want to try and figure out how old you are. I mean, the fact that it's nibbling on the leaves... can we have a look? Sorry, Money. There it is on the right. There's the little one on the left, and the slightly older one on the right. The fact that it was nibbling on leaves, well, it might be that it is 4 months old, but I think that was more a curious nibble more than anything else. Look, I personally would have put it at 3, but it's hard to tell, especially now that it's so far away. It is very, very far away from us now. But I'm happy to go with 4. Perhaps you noticed something that I missed. Now it's far away, it's difficult to tell. They're still so sweet. At the most touching sighting of a youngster that was really, I don't think, much more than a few hours old, maybe a few days, but with its ossicones still flat, galloping along after mum. A truly impressive display of precocial animals. Basically what I mean by that, obviously, is highly developed youngsters. Cheetah, no. Cheetah are not large or strong enough to hunt a giraffe. Lions, and here it comes again, coming to cause chaos. I don't think it's frightened. I think it's just having fun. I think it's playing. Lions and leopards, yes. Lions more commonly than the leopards. Leopards, it's very unusual, but they can kill giraffe calves. Lions can kill adult giraffe by working together as a group, often with a male or two to help them along, because they need that extra strength. And you'll find that in certain parts of the world, like in Kruger, the lions have learned to chase the giraffe onto the tarred roads, where they can't keep their footing and they slip. I wouldn't be surprised if hyena hunt giraffe as well in that way, if they chase them up against the rocks or the escarpment and cause them to fall. Hyena are probably the best problem solvers of any of the animals out here, so I would say it's a safe assumption that they've worked out how to do that. But cheetah, not quite. Cheetah are quite delicate in their own way. They're not solid enough to take on something this large. I don't know if any of you have seen, I've never seen this in real life, but I don't know if any of you have seen the pictures of the giraffe calf that had been hoisted into a tree. That is astounding. The fact that a leopard could pull a giraffe calf, it was a bit smaller than that one, but still, pull a giraffe calf up into a tree against gravity, using its teeth and its claws. That is mind-boggling. Off we go again. Little canters in different directions. I think it's having fun. Welcome to Martin in the Netherlands. Now, Martin, while we are going into our spring, you, of course, are going into your autumn. You want to know how strong the neck of the giraffe is. Very. However, what's interesting about this is one of my favorite facts about giraffe. What's interesting about them is that head upright position is the natural relaxed position of a giraffe. So they have a very long tendon that runs along the back of the neck, and that essentially holds the head upwards. And they have to contract the muscles of the neck to lower their heads like this, and then relax them in order to bring the head back up again. So it's kind of that sort of reverse, in a way, counterintuitive, like bats' feet, where they actually have to, their relaxed position is clenched and they have to contract their muscles to open their feet. It's a similar sort of idea. Look, you can actually see her muscles contracting there to bring her head down. And that is, she's got a very white head. Just a random point, just noticed. Very pale head. So that the neck is exceptionally strong. The neck of the males is unbelievably strong, and that, of course, is because they use them to fight each other. So what they'll do is they'll swing their heads round and whack each other on the side or on the legs or on the shoulders, and they can actually do really serious damage to each other. You can imagine, though, on the end of a 2-meter long neck, or even longer in some cases, on the end of a 6-foot long neck, with a skull, just a skull, not counting all of the muscles and everything like that, that probably weighs easily, I would say, over 25 pounds. That momentum, plus the strength of the muscles to swing it around. That, of course, is the theory... Oh, that rain looks like it's coming our way. That, of course, is the theory as to why the giraffe have evolved long necks. But that's a topic for another conversation, talking about the rain. I think Brent is somewhere over there. He's in more trouble than we are.
We are. We've actually had to change our plan. I said, oh, it was far away, and now I've lost complete sight of Rhino Ridge, and that means it is time to a Ferrari far from here. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to outrun it. That is a proper sized storm, that. And if FT has comms with Taylor, I would recommend she maybe goes and tries to hide in the garage at Serena before trying to cross the river. Okay, so we are safaring towards the light! Towards the light! And as you can see, it's got quite a lot colder. I've added a shuka. What my plan is to hopefully be able to get as far south as possible, avoiding the eastern areas, and then maybe move into that area later on tonight if the storm is past. Last night we had rain for about 6 hours. I thought it was going to blow further to the north, but it did not. Okay. Hi Billy. Billy wants to know why our vehicles don't have mirrors. Billy, because when we use lights and spotlights and infrared, they reflect black and actually blind us. And you'll notice most game drive vehicles don't have mirrors, or they're folded in. But also, I can't have a mirror here because there's a little contraption here that I mount a thermal camera on so I can see stuff at night. But also the fact that infrared shines back in the mirror and the camera you can't see anything out of the camera. And as well as when we use the spotlights, the mirror reflects back and blinds us. Ooh, it's getting closer. There's the Mara River we're scooting past at speed. Sir Jake says, we love your shuka. Sorry, Duggar boy. Yes, just behave yourself. Don't you dare do anything silly. Here's another one there. Well, this shuka is my oldest. Bye-bye, Buffalo. Actually, I've had this one for nearly 8 years. It was from Tanzania, and it was given to me by my anti-poaching staff that I used to work with there.
Now, you can see that we have managed to find what we were looking for. So I did a short little walk and followed some tracks, and well, there we go. There's a shadow lying in amongst the thickest bush possible. How we got in here, I'm not quite sure. I also don't know how we're going to get out of here. It really is a horrible thicket that we are in, and it's no wonder we drove past her earlier. We weren't too far from where she was, but luckily with a bit of sort of walking and following of tracks, and this is why it's so important to be able to track animals, is because there's not a chance we would have found this leopard any other way than by being on foot and just walking where the tracks were and where they last had her, and then following those tracks to this position. But you can see she's a sleepy cat. She wasn't very impressed with me when I walked into her. I had a bit of a growl and a little tail flick at me, and then she decided when we got her that everything was okay, and then flopped back down again. The nice thing is it looks as though she's not too skinny. It looks as though she's got a little bit of a tummy on her, so maybe a small meal. It's not exactly full, but it's not empty either, so she must have had a small meal recently. And other than that, I haven't seen her move yet, so I don't know how bad her limp is, but she's just resting nicely. You can see breathing quite heavily because of its heat, but at least it's a rosetted cat, which is absolutely wonderful. So I believe a lot of you are excited to see Shadow, and so am I. We haven't seen too much of her, and she is deep inside Djuma, and it now means that tracking cats around Twin Dams area is completely gone out the window as to who we think is around, because between her and Thandi and is it Shadow? Must be Shadow. Yes, it is Shadow. And between her, Thandi, and Shongile, there's a lot of females moving around in this section, and that's going to make it very difficult to think who this actually is just via tracks. Are you going to start moving for us? That yawn might be an indication that she's thinking about moving. I'm hoping that she's going to start making her way towards some water. It would be nice if she did. It's been a warm day, and so I wouldn't be surprised if she did do that. Hello, girl. You can see that stare is a glare of epic proportions. She almost looks as though she could death stare you. My girl, you must be careful though. You are moving straight into your sister's area, and the two sisters, I'm sure, if they see one another, will come to blows, so they need to be a little careful It's an area that is dense with leopards, and this is what happens when it's the dry season, and also when you have a female that has been dominant for so long disappear. The animals in the dry season start congregating around water, and because Kruger is no longer here, she would have kept everybody at bay and kept everybody in their relative and their respective territories. But now that she's disappeared, you can see there's this influx of these two females. Exactly what we thought would happen is that Shadow would push from the west, Thandi from the east, and this looks like it's going to be the divide line. Twin Dams is going to be the battle as to who actually gets it, because it's an ideal spot. The Milwaukee is here. It's a great place for denning. It's a great place with water and food availability. And so I wouldn't be surprised that this is an area that they contest for quite heavily. And between vocalizing, scent marking, and maybe even physical contact, it's going to be decided as to who takes it. I would hypothetically think that Thandi will probably end up with it more than what Shadow would, but you can't rule them out. I remember seeing Shadow when I first got here on Chitwa airstrip, moving around in that area and mating with one of the males. So she can travel, this female, and she does sometimes go into her sister's territory, but I would imagine will be more for Thandi to take this area. But isn't she beautiful? She's also got that same kind of face as Thandi. They are very similar looking. It's actually quite difficult to tell the two apart. I often battle with the two of them, and it used to be easy when they had territories, but they are very similar. Okay, well now she's up. Let's see. Oh, is your paw sore? Okay, I know it's not my fault that your paw is sore. You can see she's not putting weight on it at all. She looks worse than when we saw her the other day. It doesn't look okay, girl. Okay, everything's fine. Just sit there. Okay, you can see she's grumpy. Her foot is sore. Her cub is not here at the moment. For those of you that are wondering, I don't see the cub. I mean, the cub might be here, but I don't see any tracks for the cub. But that foot of hers is sore, and she's not happy about it. She's not happy about maybe the fact that I walked into her when she's in a compromised situation. You can see the foot is on the ground. There's no visible sign of injury anywhere there, but she's definitely a little on the grumpy side. So we're just going to give her space and let her move around, and try not to make too much eye contact with her, because it's funny with leopards, unlike lions, when you make eye contact, they almost take it as a challenge and they get a little bit more grumpy about it. And so it's best to just avoid eye contact, speak softly, and not move too much, and let her just calm down and get used to our presence again. But you can see, there we go, she's actually putting weight on it. That's okay. But it will be very stiff from her lying down all day, so it's a bit of a limp, but it's getting there. I mean, it's the fact that there's weight on it is really a good thing. Okay, girl, alright. We're not here to do anything to you. You can go past us. There we go. If you were wondering if she can get up into a tree, there we go. She's just scratching her claws. How beautiful is that? A leopard on a log is one of my absolute favorite things. Riti, you're asking if I know if Shadow has mated recently. Look at her sharpening her claws. You see how she digs her claws in? Riti, no, as far as I know, she hasn't. I haven't heard of any reports of her mating. Also, no physical signs of mating. The back of her neck is clean. You see no bite marks on the back of her neck that would potentially indicate that she might have mated. Okay, my girl. It's okay. Keep going. So, like I say, you just got to be a little bit patient with her and not move around nearly as much as what we would with any other leopard. She's not in the best mood at the moment, and who can blame her with a little bit of a sore foot the way that she has. It's not ideal that she's kind of got this car around, and she's going to get used to it. Once she's used to us, then I can start following her, but I'm going to give her my distance and try and keep a little bit off the back of her so she doesn't feel pressured in any way. At the end of the day, our job out here is to observe and to look at these animals, but not to cause any issues with them. So I want to try and just give her as much space and keep her as comfortable as possible. But it definitely, to me, that walking, while it looks quite bad at the moment, it really is a lot better than the first time we saw her. When Seven Eyes saw her the first time, she couldn't even do what she's doing now. That paw was up in the air. She was really battling, and this looks so much better and so much more encouraging. She's putting weight on it, and she's stiff. She's also, don't forget, she's been sleeping the whole day, so it's sore. So at the end of the day, once this starts to move, then it's going to be okay. Alright, she's gotten quite far, because the reason why I was also waiting is where I am now, I'm going to make a lot of noise to get out of here. There's going to be a lot of breaking of branches and a lot of as you can hear by my movements, that it's going to be a lot of difficult maneuvering, and I wanted to give her as much space as was possible so that I could get out of here. Now, it's a bit of a steep drainage section. Alright, Seb, hopefully we're going to get out. I'm sure Wendy will have enough power. It's actually in situations like this where Rusty would be the better car. Rusty seems to have just that little bit more grunt to get out of tight situations. So right, come on Wendy, turn. Yeah, there we go. So Wendy's now turning. Now I've got to try and find my way through here as best I can and get to where she is. And so while I do that, let's go back to Jamie and the Mara and just driving around enjoying the beautiful sunshine.
Alright, well, where I really want to be is over there. I want to be over there. There's a fig tree that was calling my name in that direction. But the problem with that is that we've got no signal there, so I can't go over there. And thus we find ourselves kind of trying to duck the storm, not quite managing it. I'm glad to hear that Tristan's caught up with Shadow. There we go. Found reverse eventually. I'm glad to hear that Tristan is caught up with Shadow. I hope her limp is better. Obviously, we keep updated on the animals of Djuma through our colleagues there, our friends there, and you, of course. Those of you that share your screenshots and the information that you do, which is why we so appreciate all of those sorts of updates from your side. I hope her limp is a little bit better. Oh, bump. Getting closer, slowly but surely. It took us about an hour and a bit to get home this morning, so it was a long journey to get here. There's something sprinting in the grass, but I think it is a warthog. Or is it my imagination? Manu, can you please zoom in? No, there is a warthog. There it goes, it's running. Can you see it there? It's really far away. I thought it was a lion moving through the grass, but it's a warthog. There we go. Some buffalo in the back, some elephants even further than that, and a warthog moving through the long grass. There are so many warthog in this area. I must have seen about 50 this morning. Different individuals. Okay, on we go. Let's get a little bit closer to the next animal. That thunder is making me nervous. Oh dear. Oh well. Yes, actually, there's lots of birds that migrate through the Mara to Djuma that we're going to see first. One is the Wahlbergs. They'll come flying through here, and then where are we now? We're in September, so not too long till the Wahlbergs make an appearance. We'll be keeping an eye out for them. The bee-eaters, the European bee-eaters, the European rollers, a lot of them will pass through here on their way through. So will the steppe eagles. The steppe eagles will also come through here. I'm sorry, there was an invisible hole. You're still on the back, Madu. You're still there. And then we see woodland kingfishers here all the time. So we don't see them so much up in this end, but if you go down towards the southern part of the reserve and then you go across the Mara River to where Sala's camp is, we see and hear woodlands there often. And there's quite a number of bird species. A lot of them will move through this path because it's quite a nutrient-rich path to take through to South Africa and ultimately to Djuma. So yes, there's quite a few of them. We'll keep an eye out. I think we're still a little bit early, but we'll keep an eye out for some of them in the not too distant future. When did the first woodlands get to Djuma? I can't even remember now. Was it in October? No, was it in November? I can't remember. Let's go back to Tristan, who might have a slightly clearer memory and definitely has a nice clear view of a leopard.
We do have a bit of an obstructed view of what is turning out to be a debate. To me, it looks like Thandi. I said shadow earlier because of the limp, but there's something about her that looks Thandi-ish, and I know some of you are saying Thandi, so I mean, obviously you guys have got access to the spot patterns and can see, but it's just so strange that the two of them both have a limp. Now, the interesting thing is I'm trying to remember shadow which leg it was, if it was the right or the left leg. I think it was the right leg, and this looks like the left leg of this individual that's a bit sore, so it must be Thandi. Also, it would make far more sense where we are to be Thandi than it would be shadow, so I don't know. I mean, it's the two of them often I get a bit confused, but to me, the first, as I saw her just now, I thought Thandi first before anything else, but I went on what the guys told me this morning and the fact that she was limping and that it was shadow, but I would say it must be Thandi. But then, who's the one that's on a kill in Torchwood that the guys were calling Thandi, because they saw both Inkanyeni and Thandi this morning on two different kills, so well, what they said was Thandi, which begs a question as to who is the other leopard then that is up that side. Maybe it is Thandi's daughter, Kuchava, and everyone's just getting, but they don't look similar at all. It's a very odd thing to kind of go through. I think there's a bit of a misidentification amongst all of them, and it just goes to show, sometimes get a little excited about seeing the leopards and you kind of misidentify them. So I do apologize if it is Thandi. I'm very sorry that I said it was shadow. I should have known better, and like I say, something to me was not right. I just wasn't 100% sure, and I just was going off what the other guys were talking about this morning. But it does look like Thandi to me as well. There's something about her that is Thandi 100%. So I'm sure some of you maybe have got some spots and screenshots that you can match up for those that are a little unsure, and for those that don't really know how we identify them, maybe somebody's got some nice right and left of the two of them, and so that we can see the differences for everybody else out there. And she's just moved a little bit. She's gone up onto a hill where really we can't get to her. This is the closest that I can get at the moment. She's up on top, and look at that camouflage. I was saying earlier why it's easy to drive past them, and you can see why. Look at the camouflage that you see there, and you can really miss this leopard in 2 ticks. So we're going to wait for her, and if she falls asleep like that, it's easy to get there on the other side. From where I am now, not so easy, but it is easier to get to her from the other side, so we will try and make our way around, but it's all very confusing.
Reunite, getting together with Tamba.
So Seb's saying if it is Thandi, then hopefully we'll see them reunite with Tamba in this area. Hopefully, I would imagine that they would reunite, given that Tamba was apparently seen around this area this morning as well, so it would be nice. She's got no physical sign of an injury, so it seems as though it's something much like Shadow. Same thing, it's just a small limp that they've got. The other female that we saw with the limp is definitely Shadow, so it's just so strange that both females have ended up with a front leg injury in the last month or so. It's an odd thing altogether. Now, Angie, you're wondering how she could have got the injury. Number of ways. She could have been chasing an animal, put a foot in a ditch by mistake that she didn't see. She could have overextended it when hunting. She could have caught something big and fallen on it. She could have there's many possibilities. Slipped out of a tree and just sprained it slightly. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in a leopard's eye. It doesn't look like a physical battle with another leopard, so for those of you thinking maybe she came to the aid of Tamba last night with Hosana, it doesn't look like that. So if you see a leopard, once it's fought and it has an injury where it's got hurt by another leopard, there'll generally be some sort of puncture wound. Remember that these animals have sharp claws, sharp teeth, and they can bite and pierce the coats of other animals, and so when they fight with one another, there's generally very visible signs that they fought. You remember when she fought with Shongile, she had those little cuts across her face, so there's normally some sort of sign of an injury if they fought, and especially to get a wound or to get a leg that sore. I would imagine this is more in a hunting situation, or maybe trying to escape another predator. She jumped up a tree and just twisted it slightly, but she is putting weight on it, and she is moving, so and maybe it will just work itself out. But it's crazy that both sisters are carrying limps at the moment. It's a weird thing and not something you would see very often at all. Maybe why she's in these dense thickets at the moment just resting, but interesting nonetheless. Shame, Michael. And you can see she's not happy about it. Earlier when she came past us, there was a few teeth bared and a bit of hissing. So Kim, you think that maybe they both went out dancing together with their high heels on and have come home with sore feet, that they partied a little bit too much on the weekend? Well, maybe that's the case, but in all likelihood, like I say, it's more a situation that they've probably done something in order to survive and try and grab food or something like that. But imagine if leopards did wear high heels. That would be quite weird. It would be a very odd thing to see, and I would imagine that Thandi would be a lot more grumpy than she is now if she had to wear high heels through this bush and climb trees in them. Of course, I wouldn't know the first thing about high heels, but I'm told that they're not very comfortable by those that are in the know, which are the ladies out there. And so imagine trying to climb a tree in a pair of high heels. It would be really quite something. What color do you think she would wear for Thandi? Thandi and Shadow, I suppose, would have different high heel pairs. We're delving into completely ridiculous situation here and conversation, but so Thandi in red, Megan, you reckon she's a red kind of lass. And what about Shadow, Megan? You can't just give one sister and not the other. You can't be biased. So Thandi in red, Shadow in black, maybe to go with her name. That's not bad. A set of black. There we go. So Shadow in black and Thandi in red, and that's how they roll, the sisters, when they go out on the town. Shame, my girl. Seems to be a rough winter so far. We're in Kahuma, female with an injury, Shadow, Thandi. It's all happening, really. It's a tough life being a cat out here. So for all of you that think these cats have it fairly easy and that life out here is a cakewalk for a predator, you can see that it is in no way that way. There's females of two adult females that are experienced adult females in the forms of leopards that are both injured, and then a lioness from the Nkuma Pride, which is also one of the older lionesses who's also experienced, and she's carrying a massive injury too. So even the more experienced females will sometimes get themselves into trouble, and it's just the nature of living out here. This is not an easy place to live. It's not, designed for animals to just have a holiday and to move around and not really worry about things. It's a hard life out here. These animals are fighting day in and day out to be alive, and it really is amazing that they do live to the years that they do in a situation like this, particularly here in the Sabi Sands. You can see the terrain is not flat in any way. It's undulating. There's little dips and ditches, aardvark burrows and holes that warthogs have dug up and elephants have dug for roots, and there's thickets and trees, and then also a high density of other predators that makes life a lot harder for these poor cats. So it's not an easy way existence, and definitely not something that these leopards or lions have to take for granted. They've got to work every day to survive. Patricia, as I said just now, when I was saying that for those of you that think that she might have protected Tumba last night, that's not going to be the case. There are no visible signs of wounds on her, so there's no cuts around her face, no cuts on her paws, no bite marks on her back or anything like that. And to sustain a serious injury like that, there would be some sort of bite mark. So you would see a canine through the foot or some sort of injury somewhere to suggest that she got into a fight. A wound or an injury where she's limping like that is not going to be just from swatting at the other leopard and then running away and not getting a scratch on her. For her to get into that closer contact to be able to hurt her own paw would have meant that the other leopard would have been right on her, and there definitely would have been some sign. Like I say, when you saw with Shongile, that Shongile ended up with a claw injury, she had a little bite on her tail, and Thandi had scratches across her face. So both would have come out with something for her to have an injury like that, and we've noticed no other cuts on her. I didn't see any when she came past us. I didn't see any on her hips, on her back, anywhere there. So I think it's more just a strain injury from hunting or running, and her foot has gone into somewhere. And it's like us when we twist our ankles, same kind of thing. So she's run through and had a slight twist and hurt herself. But whatever the case is, she's a sleepy cat now. And I wonder, I reckon eventually she's going to end up at Twin Dams. She's moved a little bit further towards there, and we're not far from the road at all. I can see Twin Dams Road maybe 50 meters to my left, so she's not far from the road, and she will start heading slowly but surely in that direction as the afternoon wears on. But what I think what we're going to do is, from here, it's a very difficult visual that we've got. It's a small gap across this very deep undulating terrain, so I'm going to try and get across to the other side and see if I can't get a better view. And while we do that, let's go to Jamie with her tall, spotted, lanky animals that she's been following around this afternoon.
Here's something pretty for you to look at before the rest of the sunset safari, which I think from the Mara is essentially going to be me in a tent for the foreseeable future. We have not managed to escape the storm. It's turned around, it's coming straight towards us, so you can look at a pretty giraffe silhouette for now. The male lion's nowhere to be seen, naturally. I don't think he's gone far, but I couldn't tell you exactly where he is, and unfortunately soon Manu and I are going to have to start dropping rain covers and possibly getting our affairs in order, judging by the storm. Oh, why did you change direction? We were doing so well. Now we are most definitely not. I hear the rumbles of thunder now. I'm going to try and find a suitably sturdy-looking tree. Unfortunately, they seem to be rather windswept and wispy here. Hey, what's that giraffe doing? Looks like it was singing. Lovely. Uh-oh. Oh no, I think we're in trouble.